Hey everybody, and welcome to episode 0 of the Modern Lending Podcast. I am Alec Hanson, and I'm extremely excited 2020 to be bringing you guys the Modern Lending Podcast. So before we dive in, why is this episode 0? What's going on? I want to share with you why we're doing this. I want to bring you behind the scenes on the whole journey of modern lending and how we even dare to grab modern lending as our own phrase, and just kind of tell you what this whole season of podcasting in 2020 is going to be about. First of all, you kind of have to start in the past. Our intent for this year is to bring you guys 12 and hopefully more episodes with senior leaders across the mortgage banking industry talking about what's changing and what's going on. Not only from the sales perspective, which is kind of my forte and what I'm really passionate about, but also from technology, from security, all the fun stuff that's happening around mortgages that we don't really experience on the sales side, but that are crucially important and are impacting kind of the future of lending. To go back in time and why this podcast exists and why we're doing this, I thought episode 0 would be very important without a guest, just to explain kind of what's going on and what to expect. You know, you have to start with my origination career. In 2003, when I started in this game, man, it was a different world. It feels like a whole different timeline to what we're experiencing today. I mean, I'm talking about the pre-MapQuest era, right? Straight up like Thomas guides, going around looking for open houses, broker previews, and that was my game. I brought into this business and I got very lucky and assigned to a great mentor, a guy named Kevin Buddy, who showed me the ropes in mortgage lending. The guy's an icon in mortgage. And every single day I'd show up and he told me, go out and get me 8 business cards from real estate professionals. That was it. It wasn't, you know, the refi boom was happening in 2003. If you remember back then, it was a mad market, tons of creative products that were available. And I was told to go out and get 8 business cards from realtors. So of course I went to, you know, the car washes because that's where realtors stored their cards and I'd have to talk to them. It's not totally true. I actually did go into open houses. I met real estate agents. I used to print out maps on where to go because I didn't know the neighborhoods. And you have to remember, this is the time when the MLS, the multiple listing service, was private. You couldn't access it. If you wanted to know what houses were for sale, you had to talk to a real estate professional, period. Yes, you could look at the hot sheets on the weekend and the open house sheets. Or yes, if you're an industry guy like me, you could go down to the real estate board and get the list of the open houses and the broker previews that were available to go tour. But man, it was a different world. And analyzing that world, guys, the top of the sales funnel, the very, very top, was the real estate professional. Because if a customer wanted to find out what homes were for sale, they had to start there. They had to start there, which meant as a mortgage professional, if I got right behind that realtor, if I was their trusted referral partner, if I was, you know, the subject matter expert and the person they relied upon, man, I was right at the top of the sales cycle with the customer, which meant someone wanted to buy a home, they talked to a realtor, that realtor referred them to me or other professionals like you guys who were in the business back then, and we took care of that customer. The amount of shopping and transparency into the industry didn't exist. And so we thrived. No doubt a lot of us thrived and built our businesses. You fast forward, man, the change from 2003 to 2020 is insane. The amount of information at our fingertips, first of all, is insane. Let's just unpack a simple challenge. I ask a lot of young people today, where would you go right now if you wanted to buy a home? If you're going to go out and look for a home for sale, where would you go? The vast majority go online. Like I'm saying in the high 90s. If you don't go online, like you're Amish. Like it's weird. Because that's just where the information lies. And large companies like Realtor.com and Zillow and Redfin and all these companies have poured in millions of dollars to drive people to these websites online to look at homes. And look, we love it, right? We're voyeurs. We want to see what's for sale. We want to see what our house might be worth or what the one down the street's worth. And we love it. And that's why companies like Zillow have these high user views per day, because we love that stuff. Well, how does that translate into the rest of our industry? What's happening in this gap between what I call traditional lending and modern lending? Well, it's just about consumer behavior. If the customers changed how they consume information, let's just look at the sales cycle real quick again. I described it before when the MLS was private If a customer wanted to buy a house, they went to a real estate agent, and they partner right up to a local loan professional. That was the sales cycle. That was the top of the sales cycle. Today, if you're buying a home, you can be on the internet for 8 months, clicking around, pushing buttons. And I'll tell you one thing that didn't change in consumers. The access to information has changed how they operate, but they still operate the same way. Let me give you a story. We would beg and plead our customers to get pre-qualified for a mortgage, heck, pre-approved for a mortgage before shopping, right? I was saying this back in 2003. Everyone it was always like, please don't go shop for a home without knowing what you can afford. That seems pretty obvious, right? And yet people would still go out and look at homes before talking to loan people, and it would drive me nuts. Well, fast forward to today. Today, they're doing the exact same thing. They're out online shopping for a home without knowing what they can afford. And then guess what they do? They push a button online. They push a button online. And when they push a button online to see what they can afford, they get swept up into a lot of large machines, these aggregators that pull their information together and sell it back out. So when you look at the sales cycle today, these aggregators, these internet players, of which loanDepot is a major player in, man, we are top of cycle for those customers that are starting digitally. And that percentage is going up across every demographic. So the local guy like me, who's sitting down here waiting behind a realtor to refer us agents, customers, we're now down in the sales cycle dramatically. In fact, most of the loan officers I coach and I talk to, man, if I ask them as a percentage, how much of their business, how many of their referrals are coming to them with already established quote or pre-qual or from somebody else, from some other lender. And the percentage is above 80, and it's going up. And if you're in a market that's like, oh, no, that's not me, then just hold on, because it's coming. That's the reality. We have fallen down the sales cycle because consumers now have way more access to information and technology that's empowering how they shop for homes and how they shop for a mortgage. So why are we doing a podcast? How did this happen? Well, about a year ago, I got really upset. I got upset because in my personal belief, the local professional mortgage banker who has spent 30 years in their community, who lives there, invests in the churches and the charities and the kids' soccer games, knows every single down payment assistance program and bond program in that local market, man, they are equipped to be the best educator for somebody who's trying to buy a home. Man, they know everything, and they live there, and they're passionate about their world. And those people, who are my people, who are the same people that brought up in the industry the way I was brought up, man, they're getting bypassed. They're getting bypassed by a consumer who's starting a different path, who's coming down the cycle differently. And when they do get introduced, finally near the bottom of the sales cycle, all of their experience and consultative knowledge and all that stuff's being marginalized and commodified. And they're being condensed into an interest rate because all of that time they should have been spending with the customer to build relationship and consultative value has been erased because the customer came down a different path. So I got really passionate, and I realized that the modern lender, the modern retail local professional had to change some of their skill sets, and not to disqualify the skill sets that made us great today. Not to say that our referral relationships and our partners with realtors and home builders is garbage and doesn't work and should be forgotten. Absolutely counter to that. The reality, though, is that we have to build new skill sets to survive in the new normal, the modern age that's happening right now. And if we do not develop those skill sets, then we won't survive. The local pro will not survive. It's a threat and it's an opportunity. So as you look at what we're doing today, I spent about a year helping develop loanDepot's proprietary modern lending playbook, which was a tactical look at everything from brand to digital marketing, all the way through the loan process, including local marketing, which is one of our strengths as local professionals, all the way down to relationship for life. Rebooting the entire system and understanding what are the skill sets needed to go into 2020. It's been a really fun part of my personal learning curve here at the company, and just delivering it to loan officers and learning back. It's been amazing. And so now we lean into this podcast. At the end of last year, one of the skill sets that I really believe is pertinent for future loan officer success is building brand, building digital reputation, if you will, right? Because brand is so buzzy. I don't like it. Let's just talk about digital reputation. if you're going to get Googled by 90% of the people that you come in contact with who are going to look you up for reviews and your background and your efficacy, then you need to have a big, powerful digital brand, digital reputation, or you don't show up. So I did this challenge where I was going to do 100 videos in 100 days. Whew! That was a heavy lift, but I learned a ton through it. And one of the biggest learnings I got through it was, man, I have to put this material, this content into a podcast that's deliverable in a long form medium, so that as we dig into each individual topic, we can go deep into what it is to brand, deep into what it is to have a digital marketing strategy, not just I post online every day, deep into the technologies that are coming to change our world. Here's one of the things I see coming, and one of the reasons I'm passionate about this podcast, and we're going to bring on guests to talk about this. But there's a sales skill set that we have as mortgage professionals that we have to change, right? We have to build big personal brand. We have to build creative, strategic digital marketing efforts. We have to learn, again, how to locally market ourselves to become ambassadors and leaders in our community and brand leaders, so that everyone knows that when you need a mortgage, you come to me, right? We have to learn those skill sets and evolve them in a modern age, but we have to also learn how to adapt to what's going to change around us. Let me give you an example. We're going to unpack this in one of the podcast episodes. I'm going to bring on Tammy Richards, our COO. We're going to bring on some of our technologists. The reality is, mortgage technology is going to change. If you're like me, then you remember when automated underwriting first entered our industry. Do you remember how crazy that was? Oh my gosh, it was clues. And those of you that know. I mean, it's like when it was invented, everyone was like, "Oh my gosh, it's the end of the underwriter. It's the whole change of the industry." No, what technology always does is it enables human beings to be more effective and to scale. So technology really does. And if you don't embrace it, you get run over. So I get that people get upset. But one of the things we really have to unpack is, what's the effect of technology going to be on the modern originator? I have a core belief that within, for sure, my lifetime, but likely like 3 to 5 years, maybe less, and we're going to talk about some of the stuff we're working on at Loan Depot to do this, but maybe less, a consumer is going to get instantly approved at time of application. Just people think that's insane, what I just said, that a customer can apply for a loan with their documents or even without their documents, because there's some ways to digitally plumb those documents, and be fully approved at time of application. When I talk to when I talk to loan professionals today, and I ask how much of your day is spent tracking down paper, coordinating files back and forth, status reporting people, making sure things are in line, it's like 70%. And the highly productive loan officers have to scale up big teams to manage that level of production because there's just too much paper going around. Well, what's going to happen when your customer applies and is instantly approved on day one for their loan? What's going to happen to our industry, man? That's insane. And that's going to happen at Loan Depot, and that's going to have to radically, again, transform how we manage our business as local professionals, right? It's going to change the game. So here's what I want to unpack for you guys as we start for 2020 and the podcast series. Number one, I hope that you listen in, that you subscribe, that you share, because I think collaboratively we get better. I hope you ask questions. I hope you engage, because that's how we challenge each other, right? We can't exist in an echo chamber where the only feedback is from ourselves. We have to get it from each other and learn together. But we're going to be bringing on all the different parts of the mortgage world. Of course, we're going to bring on sales professionals and have a great chance to talk to people who are doing radical digital stuff that we can learn from and grow from. But we have to also bring on our information security department and understand, how are we protecting our customers from the radical world of hacking that's going on today. Then we're going to bring on our operations and technologists to talk about what mortgage tech is going to change the world here, and how is that going to change us. And then from there, we'll bring on some senior leaders. We're going to bring on some of the best loan officers in the field that I know that are working on some really cool and creative stuff. And we're going to absolutely dive into these important topics to figure out, what do we need to do to be better. I will leave you guys with one core message. It's my belief that mortgage technology will change even further than it is today. I just talked about it, but I fully believe that within the next 3 to 5 years, customers are going to be approved for a loan at the time of application. What that means is that our skill set, if it's as easy as putting a thumbprint down or a retinal scan and getting a mortgage, if that's what it is, in the future, you're approved, then the ultimate question will be, where is that customer going to choose to apply? Period. There's nothing else. If you're a underwriting guru loan officer who can outstructure anybody, that skill set, I believe, is sunsetting. It's not done today, but it will be done soon. Here's how I describe it. If you were like me and here pre-crisis, pre-mortgage crisis people, you understand that when the crisis hit in 2008, the world moved radically fast. I mean, companies were just gone, out of business, disappeared. So if you worked there, you had to move. You had to pivot immediately. Loan products that we were using were unavailable, gone. So you had to use other loan products and fully document people. And people, I knew loan officers didn't know how to do it. We're like, I can't do this. And they either quit or they adapted and survived. Today, man, that same change is happening today. It's just happening in slow motion. And so a lot of us feel like we don't have to change. Hey, Alec, I'm still getting referrals from my agents. Hey, Alec, my way of doing business is still working. Great. Capitalize on it. But do not think for a second, do not become complacent and think that that's going to save you from the change that's happening right now. Ask yourself, how many of the referrals are you getting are coming in with a pre-qualification from somebody else? Look at the results. Be a student of your own experience. And you will see that a change is required. And one of the things I hope to unpack with you guys is going to be the conversation around influence and brand and how that, in my opinion, is the only way to make your business invulnerable to the changes coming up. We have to figure out, as mortgage professionals, how to go deep on brand and deep on influence to our community so that when any of them has the slightest desire to look at home financing, home purchasing, home refinancing, the first thing that comes in their head is you. The first thing that comes in their head is you. That's going to be one of the funnest topics to dive into. So I'm really excited for you guys to join me on this 2020 podcast journey. Please subscribe. Please share. We have a lot of fun things to talk about. And if you have topics and guests that you want on here, man, let me know. I've got my list built out, but I would love to bring on some other people as well and talk about how the world is changing in mortgage lending in 2020. Thanks, guys. Alec out.